Professor Haideh Salehi Esfahani, sorry.
Yes, you got it right.
Nice to meet you. So, why Pike Place?
Because Pike Place is where the markets are, and markets are places where institutions, places where 99% of people attain 99.9% of what
Wow.
they need all the time. If you just look at what you're wearing,
Oh my God.
everything is purchased. Our clothing, food, entertainment, travel, places we live, everything, legal services, financial, all of these go through market transactions. And so our lives are intricately intertwined with interacting with others through markets.
And it's, so the course, it's called, is Principles of Microeconomics, correct? So, does microeconomics means market? What does microeconomics mean?
Microeconomics describes the amazing coordination mechanism that exists between millions of people we call consumers, all with their very own individual tastes. They're all unique and different. And they have different interests, they have different incomes, they live in different places, they have different ages, they have different locations, all of that. The amazing interaction and coordination takes place between these people and thousands of others who are suppliers of goods and services who use our valuable and scarce resources to the best way possible to provide what the consumers want of these variety of goods without the two sides talking to each other.
Wow.
That's kind of an amazing process, don't you think?
Yeah. So where are we gonna start?
So we start with the idea of a scarcity of resources, which is what we always face in daily life. For an individual, their scarce resources are actually their income. It's a scarce resource. And their time, perhaps our mental capabilities to figure things out at a given time. And for the economy, it is the resources we have at a given time, which is labor, all the labor supply in terms of human labor, physical, mental capabilities, creative design, problem solving, data processing, all those things, plus the machinery, which is also given at any time, and also the land on which we grow all of our goods and all of agricultural goods, and something else we call entrepreneurship, which brings them all together. And so those are all scarce resources. So if you think about the student in a daily life, they're constantly juggling things. Juggling means they're dealing with scarcity. Should I go to this class, or should I go to the coffee shop, or should I meet my friends for this hour? Should I study economics? Should I study biology? So if you think about the economy, it's just a much bigger kind of a space for the same kind of thing, which is our resources are scarce. And so scarcity means that we have to make choices. Ultimately, it means that every resource, whether it's time or money, has alternative uses. You could either spend an hour in class, or spend it in a park, or somewhere else. And we have to make choices. So economics is about the science of making choices, seeing patterns of behavior, regularities among choices of millions of people who are all very different, and they're called consumers. And on the other hand, also seeing a regularity of behavior, a pattern. It's science. It means that there's a regularity that we can explain and we can predict. And so on the producer side, the same. You're looking at the regularity pattern of how producers behave and how the consumers behave. How do they make choices in such a way that the two sides don't get to talk, actually. We don't even know who we are buying things from. But when we walk to a store, the things that we want is there. How does that happen? So it's the coordination here in this amazing mechanism, and its requirements for it to work well, for a market to work well, which is the mainstay of the principles of microeconomics.
So basically, again, economics. If you think about what is an economy, I should think consumers, suppliers, market, money, I guess, and the goods that go around.
Exactly, money as a way for people to ease the transactions between them. Exactly.
I kind of start seeing why Pike Place makes sense.
That
It
is
really
why
does.
Pike Place makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it brings everything together. I mean, in the end, it's
Exactly. Markets, as I said, everyone is just everything we have in our lives
Yeah.
comes from somebody else who did
Yeah.
it for us.
that's true.
You can appreciate that person who did it, but you don't know who they are.
Yeah,
And what you're doing is going through a market transaction, which includes a price. Now,
Yeah.
price is another amazing,
Price is another one, yeah,
another
of course.
amazing kind of a concept in economics. And so, actually, what I meant to say is that because we make choices, we develop a concept called opportunity cost.
huh?
It means that every choice you make, you have to give up something else.
Yeah.
And actually, the value of a choice, shall we say the opportunity cost of a choice,
Yeah,
is what you have to give up for it.
yeah,
And in fact, price itself is a kind of a manifestation of concept of opportunity cost. So
Yeah.
actually, that rules our life. And that's all because of a scarcity of resources.
and I'm also like trying to think about how this fits in within the concept of social science, because I'm kind of thinking about and asking a lot of professors that I'm meeting, and I'm having like this series of answers. So like social sciences, it's something between natural science and science. So how would you place these kind of concepts and these kind of ideas within the frame of social sciences?
Well, social science is a science because human behavior is
Yeah.
predictable, right? This applies to the political arena,
Yeah,
to arena of how societies organize themselves, which is like sociology,
yeah,
Anthropology is another area, and economics is really about a very important part of it, which is all the decisions we make
Yeah.
in our daily life regarding goods and services.
yeah,
So it is very much part of social science because we are constantly interacting with others.
yeah.
There are institutions we go to called either shops, offices,
True. Yeah.
government offices, other places like clinics, lawyers. There are these places we go to where we interact,
Yeah.
and so that is why you can think of it as of course, it's part of social sciences, but it is that part of it which handles and tries to understand how societies develop through time
Yeah.
in terms of their economic progress
Yeah.
and development.
And so why did you decide to teach the course?
Well, I love the stuff.
That makes sense.
I've been doing it for a long time. And the online course is probably what you're asking about. Why did I teach? Because I've been teaching it now for 25 years or so.
Wow.
I've been in business for a long time. Actually, more than 20. I don't want to say how many years. I don't want to give away my age. More than 25. But 24 just here and several years in another institution. So I think this is a new frontier for a world that's becoming fast globalized.
Yeah.
And a lot of interactions may be going virtual.
Yeah.
And it actually offers a chance for a different type of interaction,
Yeah.
which may be just as good potentially as what we think of as a classroom face-to-face interaction. And so the online course in economics offers a chance for students to integrate their other learnings from other classes,
Yeah.
which is usually better done online, where there's more coherence.
Yeah.
There is everything is in one space online,
Yeah.
rather than in these different brick and sort of mortar rooms,
Yeah.
which are physical spaces.
Yeah.
And also the faculty can have more synergy online in this manner.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why I think it might actually be a very good idea.
Yeah.
The other reason that I think is good to have an online class potentially is that students who may be shy in classroom
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily contribute impromptu to discussions may actually be quite willing and interested in writing, like in discussion forums, for example, in an online format and
Yeah.
be in touch. Maybe it won't be real time, but it won't matter in a way because you get to actually reflect on ideas.
Yeah.
You get to think about it. And what goes down on the writing and you're sharing it with others is after you've thought about it.
Yeah.
So in a way, it may actually provide a space for a richer discussion, possibly, more thoughtful.
Yeah.
So those are the potentialities of, I think, the online format for learning.
one of the reasons why I'm taking this course, and one of the reasons why I'm thinking about the online degree is precisely because of that, of like the idea that I can move between spaces within the same space. Is just, it's something that to me it really feels like the kind of integration that really looking for. I mean, and again,
I think that if you're trying to integrate the various sub-disciplines in social sciences, the online format is a good potential kind of a venue, I think.
And when I asked you at the beginning of the question, and you asked me if I was actually meaning the online one, that was part of the question, because I'm actually interested in why you decided to, what made you interested in all this, because to be honest, I think that all this is interesting and fantastic, but I'm also thinking, so if I learn about microeconomics, which is very interesting, but why does that matter? How did you get interested, and how did all this change who you are, in your life?
So why does it matter? I think that the concepts that we use in this class will do a couple of things.
Yeah.
One is that individuals, students, will really have a much more knowledgeable decision-making mechanism. They'll understand the trade-offs. They'll understand what they're giving up. Literally the calculations of the decisions. In case you're thinking about college versus something else, they're all much more, I think, clear, crystal clear. It also, since this is the world which is fast changing, I think the knowledge of economic concepts, which really, as I said, rules our life, allows you to obtain critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, putting things in a framework where you can analyze it. That's what economics does for you. And so it would really help a student who takes the class and takes it seriously. Just in terms of becoming literate citizens in a society where we vote on so many economic issues. So many things that governments propose affect our lives. When we understand these principles, we turn into, much more informed and literate people. And I think that really helps ultimately the democracy and the society as a whole. Now, in terms of what I gained out of it, my interest is, of course, I love this stuff, but my interest is really in how institutions, the human organizations, economic organizations actually develop through time. And also how rule of law emerged. I love that stuff, because sometimes it almost looks like a historical accident, that these dictatorial regimes become one where everybody's under the rule of law, because dictators or arbitrary rulers are above the law. And that's actually the way most of the world has been working, and it still works. But then we have some examples of it not being the case, like in here and in Europe, and maybe Australia and a few other places where a lot of immigrants went to. So economics has taught me to really appreciate what it means to develop through time building institutions. That I would be living in a very different world just a century ago. That I appreciate, and economics has taught me that.
Wow.
And so it actually is a sense of appreciation. Economics sometimes is called like the, what is the name for it? It's called the dismal science. Because everything has a cost, and cost is not a good thing. But actually for me, it is a very hopeful science, because it tells you not just the constraints, but the opportunities people have through institution buildings and through, of course, adoption of ultimate rule of law. And this is actually at the country, kind of a countrywide, a statewide, for the societies, and how that literally can change the lives of individuals who now do not fear either persecution for starting a business or a job or saying something, and how everyone can actually flourish to the best of their ability and their potential. And that's a promise that this country holds, but it can actually be applied to many other places in the world. And I also realize how hard it is to go from systems that do not have institutional setups that actually support markets. Markets need a lot of support. I was talking about how important stuff is. They need a lot of support. They do not exist in a vacuum. And that's my interest. And so I have really, basically I've become a very grateful person as a result of learning economics.
I mean, that's
because
beautiful.
instead of complaining about things, I realized how hard it was to even get here.
Yeah.
So
that was very, very helpful, and thank you so much for taking your time.
it was my pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you so
it was
much.
really fun.
Thank you.
Sure.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.